We have a database set up for application, but as you might know, it's really stressful if you want to come to your database manager like SQL Pro, for example, and start creating table columns for your application, like maybe a to-dos table where it's going to store your to-dos and all that. So you have to do this for your development, you have to do that for your testing, and when you send your application to production, you still have to do that. But there's a better way, okay? What if you could actually write your database structure as code, and then when you change your environment or you want to set up your database, you just call this code. That's what migrations exactly are. In our database directory, we have migration files. And if you look at this migration file for user.js, it's basically a class that extends the base schema class from Adonis. And this has two functions, an up function and a down function. And our up function is going to be used to put some information into the database, and our down function is going to be used to remove that information. So in this case, what we are doing is we are creating a users table, and then in this closure right here, we are defining how that users table should be created. It should have an increments field, which is an ID that automatically increments. It should have a string, another string for password. And this one for username should not be nullable, which means if it's null, our database is going to throw us an error. This should also be unique for each database row. Same thing for the email and the password too. We also have the timestamps, which stand for the created at and updated at fields in our database. Then we have the down function, and this simply drops the users table. So this one creates the users table, and if we want to remove the users table from our database, we run this down function, right? So we're going to be creating ours so that you understand how it works. If I run Adonis help, you can see we have a command that says make migration, and this is going to create a new migration file. So I'm just going to say Adonis make migration, and this is going to be for the to-dos table. Alright, here we have an option that says create table or select table. So sometimes you might want to update a column in an already existing table, which means you just have to select that table and do something with it. But if you want to create a table, then we're going to go with the create table option. So in our database migrations directory now, we have a to-do schema. And what does this do? Again, it has two functions, up and down, right? So the first one says we need to have a table increments and a table timestamps, and it's creating a to-dos table. We're gonna say they should also have a string field titled text, and for now that's all we're gonna have. So like we said, if we run this up function, it's gonna create this to-dos table in our database with a string field called text, and if we run this down function, it's gonna delete the to-dos table. So let's go ahead and run the up function. To run that, we run Adonis migration run, and it's gonna run all the up functions for migrations that have not yet been run to our database. And like we said, Adonis knows that this migration has not been run by keeping track of all the migrations in this Adonis schema table in our database. Okay, so if we run that, we have this command that says this has been migrated successfully. If we go back to our SQL Pro and give it a quick refresh, we have a to-dos table, and we can see that it has a text field right there. If we run Adonis help one more time, we can see we have a migration refresh, migration reset, migration rollback command. Let's start with the migration rollback, and you're gonna see what it does. So we're gonna say Adonis migration rollback, and we have a message that says rollback completed in 114 milliseconds. If we come back to our database, refresh, the to-dos table is gone, which means the rollback command runs the down function and the migrate run command runs the up function. Okay, so if you want to reset everything, then you're going to run the migration refresh command, and that's going to run the down function in each of the migration files. So we have our to-dos table. How do we communicate with this table?